It's not a weird left-wing rabbit hole. I didn't insinuate anything. I asked you whether Tom Homan accepted $50,000, as was heard on an audio tape recorded by the FBI in September 2024, and you did not answer the question. Thank you for your time this morning.
No, George, I said that I don't.
Up next, we'll be right back.
Sunday shows, the Sunday political shows on, all the cable networks. I feel like JD Vance went on a full tour of all of them. And after the first one, I'm not sure which one he started with, but after the first one, he should have just hung it up and stopped talking, because he goes with the same types of lies that Donald Trump tells. It's just the only problem with JD Vance telling all of Donald Trump's lies, that JD Vance, nobody really likes his ass.
The White House border czar Tom Homan was recorded on an FBI surveillance tape in September 2024, accepting $50,000 in cash. Did he keep that money or give it back?
George, you've covered the story ad nauseum. Tom Homan did not take a bribe. It's a ridiculous smear. And the reason you guys are going after Tom Homan so aggressively is because he's doing the job of enforcing the law. I think it's really preposterous. I know Tom. I think that he's a good man. He gets death threats. He gets attacked. He gets constantly threatened by people because he has the audacity to want to enforce the country's immigration laws. I think that it would be a much more interesting story about why is it that Tom Homan, who is simply enforcing Americans' immigration laws, is getting constantly harassed and threatened to the point of death threats. That's a much more interesting question that I think journalists should focus on. We can agree to disagree on that question.
Well, wait, you said he didn't take a bribe, but I'm not sure you answered the question. Are you saying that he did not accept the $50,000?
George, this story has been covered ad nauseum. He did not take a bribe. Did he accept $50,000? I'm sure that in the course of Tom Homan's life, he has been paid more than $50,000 for services. The question is, did he do something illegal? And there's absolutely no evidence that Tom Homan has ever taken a bribe or done anything illegal, which is why he's working in the administration.
I'm asking you, did he accept the $50,000 that was caught on the surveillance tape? Did he accept that $50,000 or not?
George, I don't know what you're talking about. Did he accept $50,000 for what?
He was recorded on an audio tape in September 2024, an FBI surveillance tape, accepting $50,000 in cash. Did he keep that money?
Accepting $50,000 for doing what, George? I'm not even sure I understand the question. Is it a crime? Even the far left media like yourself. So I'm actually not sure what the precise question is. Did he accept $50,000? Honestly, George, I don't know the answer to that question. What I do know is that he didn't violate a crime.
None of that makes any sense. The question that was asked like 4 times by George Stephanopoulos was, did Tom Homan accept that $50,000? Didn't call it a bribe necessarily right there. He's asked if he accepted $50,000 as was described on this FBI tape of him taking money. And maybe if you said, yes, he did, we can move on to saying, what did he take that $50,000 for? That's the question that JD Vance did not want to answer. It's why he went through as many pretzels he could twist himself into to avoid even answering any aspects of it. I'm actually glad now that as so many, many independent media folks or just folks online have noticed how crazy it is that people will not hold these guys' feet to the fire. And the way that George Stephanopoulos ended this interview, because again, this is the continuation of that same dead-end brick wall conversation with JD Vance, and he finally had enough of it.
So you don't, what was caught on the tape, you're saying right now you don't know whether or not he kept that money?
I don't know what tape you're referring to, George. I saw media reports that Tom Homan accepted a bribe. There's no evidence of that. And here's, George, why fewer and fewer people watch your program and why you're losing credibility. Because you're talking for now 5 minutes with the Vice President of the United States about this story regarding Tom Homan, a story that I've read about, but I don't even know the video that you're talking about. Meanwhile, low-income women can't get food because the Democrats and Chuck Schumer have shut down the government. Right now, we're trying to figure out how to pay our troops because Chuck Schumer has shut down the government. You are focused on a bogus story. You're insinuating criminal wrongdoing against a guy who has done nothing wrong instead of focusing on the fact that our country is struggling because our government's shut down. Let's talk about the real issues, George. I think the American people would benefit much more from that than from you going down some weird left-wing rabbit hole where the facts clearly show that Tom Homan didn't engage in any criminal wrongdoing.
It's not a weird left-wing rabbit hole. I didn't insinuate anything. I asked you whether Tom Homan accepted $50,000, as was heard on an audio tape recorded by the FBI in September 2024, and you did not answer the question. Thank you for your time this morning.
No,
Illinois
George,
Governor
I
J.B.
said that I
Pritzker's
don't.
Up next. We'll be right back.
Shut your ass up. Get the hell off of the program. Nobody wants to hear any more lies from you. I love it. It's about time. It's about time. What is the purpose of continuing to keep these guys on to lie? I understand inviting them on, give them the opportunity to maybe be like, you know what, George, we've been lying to you guys for the entire time that we've been in any kind of political office. Matter of fact, it ramped up when Donald Trump's lying ass became president again and tapped me. So therefore, my job is to kiss his ass and lie as much as possible. And since we know he's not going to say that, let him spiel off about 5 minutes worth of bullshit. Then after he spiels all that off, afterwards tell him, you haven't answered my question. I'm done talking to you. It's pretty obvious that your objective here is to lie. That's what you are. You're a liar. So cut his ass off. Stop talking to him. Stop giving him any kind of legitimacy. Let them start talking about how George Stephanopoulos cut J.D. Vance off because he was lying so much. Not how we're going to have a debate over whether or not J.D. Vance was lying. It was pretty clear. He pointed out what he asked him, pointed out how he didn't answer it, and shut his ass up. It's about time. But as I said, J.D. Vance went on a tour of a bunch of Sunday shows.
What is the function of this Qatar facility? People are wondering, is this an air base? What is Qatar going to be developing in Idaho?
Yeah, I saw some reporting about this, Maria. I actually talked to the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, this morning. This is largely a fake story. We continue to have, with countries that we work with, we have relationships where, sometimes their pilots work on our bases, sometimes that we train together, sometimes we work together in other ways. The reporting that somehow there is going to be a Qatari base on United States soil, that's just not true. We are continuing to work with a number of our Arab friends to ensure that we are able to enforce this peace, but we're not going to let a foreign country have an actual base on American soil. So there's a bit of misreporting on that, as there often is, as you know, Maria.
Think about the wording he used there, because that's the idea. J.D. Vance is a calculated liar, and he's not good at it because you can see him calculating it. Donald Trump is a wild liar, and as soon as you start calling out his lies, he calls you a name, says you're fake news, and moves on to the next lie. He kind of overwhelms you with the numbers of lies. J.D. Vance thinks he can convince people with his lies. So he went with this very calculated statement saying, I saw some reporting on this, and it's largely a fake story. So the very next question should be, since we're talking about what this is called as a largely fake story, where's the smaller part of the reality? Since it's largely fake, that means there's probably some part that's real, right? It's never asked because he's on with Maria Bartiromo and she's there to just listen to him and carry it on to the next question. It's weird because he also brought up the Department of War, the Department of War Secretary, Pete Hegseth. I guess we should listen to what Pete Hegseth said about this Qatari airbase in Idaho, since, it's largely a fake story.
I'm also proud that today we're signing a letter of acceptance to build a Qatari Emiri Air Force facility at the Mountain Home Air Base in Idaho.
The reporting that somehow there is going to be a Qatari base on United States soil, that's just not true.
The location will be host a contingent of Qatari F-15s and pilots to enhance our combined training, increase lethality, interoperability. It's just another example of our partnership. And I hope you know, Your Excellency, that you can count on us.
Well, I mean, at least Your Excellency knows that he can count on us. But apparently J.D. Vance, the Vice President of the United States, doesn't want to acknowledge that His Excellency can count on us with that Qatari air base that they're building in Idaho. It's weird that he was asked that question and he said it's fake news. Is that the largely fake part about it? Or is Pete Hegseth a part of the fake news? Is Pete Hegseth a traitor to Donald Trump's kingdom of the United States? I'm just trying to figure out where the lines are all blurry because we can't figure out where your lies start and where they end. Let's move on to J.D. Vance lying about the Insurrection Act. And if you don't know, the Insurrection Act is what they've been gearing up for since they got into office here. It's a part of Project 2025, that thing that Donald Trump said he never heard of right before he then said, as of like a week or two ago, that it's all about the famous Project 2025.
Of course, there's a major legal battle underway about the administration's deployment of the National Guard. It does come as NBC News is reporting that the administration has been seriously discussing invoking the Insurrection Act. That would give the president the power to direct federal troops to conduct law enforcement functions in the case of a national emergency. Is that the case? Are you seriously considering invoking the Insurrection Act?
Well, the president's looking at all of his options. Right now, he hasn't felt he needed to, but we have to remember, why are we talking about this, Kristen? Because crime has gotten out of control in our cities, because our ICE agents, the people who are enforcing our immigration laws, have faced a 1,000% increase in violent attacks against them. We have people right now who are going out there, who are doing the job the president asked them to do, who are enforcing our immigration laws. They're being assaulted, they're being beaten, they're being shot at. The problem here is not the Insurrection Act or whether we actually invoke it or not. The problem is the fact that the entire media in this country, cheered on by a few far-left lunatics, have made it okay to tee off on American law enforcement. We cannot accept that in the United States of America. We want everybody, black or white, rich or poor, to be safe in the United States of America. But to do that, we have to empower our law enforcement agents to keep us safe. That's what we're talking about doing.
Couple of points here. First of all, an Illinois judge said that state and local authorities have been able to handle protest activity, that ICE, that other federal agencies have been able to continue to do their work. Crime is down in both Chicago and Portland, but is there a rebellion here? That's what would trigger an Insurrection Act. Is it imminent?
Kristen, crime is down in Chicago and Portland often because they're so overwhelmed at the local level, they're not even keeping the statistics properly. Just a couple of weeks ago, we had an ICE office get shot at by a far-left assassin who was trying to kill our law enforcement officers. He fortunately didn't kill law enforcement officers. He did kill some other innocent people in the process. We cannot allow the far left in this country to tee off on our law enforcement officers. We've got to do something about it. And that's all the president's talking about.
I'm not sure if Kristen Welker eventually asked him about all this fear-mongering that he's doing as far as all these law enforcement officials and these ICE agents and folks that are taking incoming from these horrific insurrectionist Antifa protester types in the country. When I'm not sure if she was going to ask him about how they helicoptered in and broke into black folks' apartment and homes and then pulled their children out and handcuffed them, put them in zip ties and separated them from their families. Is somebody going to ask him about this racist-ass policy where these folks are attacking American citizens? I'm just trying to figure out when they're going to get to that point to talk about all the fear-mongering he keeps talking about from people that are taking threats from people as they attack and murder and traumatize people. I'm just trying to figure out when we're going to finally get that equal question happening and let him lie his ass off about that next. But the Insurrection Act, where they'll limit all folks' rights in this country, he said no one should even worry about that. The problem isn't the Insurrection Act. Says you, why should anybody listen to this guy? It's the normalization of whatever is that they say is the law, is the fact, is the reality, and it just isn't the case. That's why the continuation of pushing back on this stuff is that important. They lie so smoothly, and it just rolls right off his tongue. The Insurrection Act shouldn't be a problem at all. What's the matter with you? I mean, next, we should be able to murder American citizens. What are you concerned about? The deity, Donald Trump, said so. Here he is now talking about, that set up lawsuit. Those set up targets for his political enemies that Donald Trump has, specifically towards James Comey.
Of course, NBC News is covering and has confirmed that President Trump's social media post last month calling for his Attorney General Pam Bondi to prosecute his political opponents, James Comey, Letitia James, and Adam Schiff, was actually meant to be a private message. Both Comey and James have now been indicted. Is the Department of Justice acting on orders from the president to prosecute his political opponents with the final 30 seconds we have left?
No, we're driven by the law and the facts of the case. I think if you look at the case, the fact that a far-left grand jury in a far-left area indicted Letitia James and James Comey, if you look at the fact that James Comey obviously lied under oath, Letitia James obviously committed mortgage fraud, what we're doing is letting the law drive the prosecution decisions in the Department of Justice. You know who we haven't prosecuted? Joe Biden or Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton.
Okay,
unlike Biden's Department of Justice, Kristen, which actually went after Donald Trump in the midst of an election, we are not doing that. We are letting the law drive these decisions. That's exactly as it should be.
Mr. Vice President, just staying on this president, though, my question for you, is the appearance of pressure a problem? The fact that he has publicly called for these indictments and now they have happened, does that not blur the lines?
No, Kristen, I think that we continue to allow the law to drive these decisions. If the law didn't necessitate an investigation and a prosecution in this case, it wouldn't happen. Of course, the president is allowed to have opinions about the law enforcement of the federal government. He is the chief executive officer of the federal government. Him having opinions doesn't mean that we prosecute people unless we have the legal justification to do so. That is the guiding light of the Trump administration's Department of Justice. Did somebody break the law? If so, we're going to prosecute them.
All right, we covered a lot of ground today.
And bails out because she gave him 30 seconds to say as many lies as he could in that short amount of time and then move on and let that be the last word. He said Donald Trump's pressure on the attorney general in what was supposed to be a private message that he accidentally put out on Truth Social is just his opinion. Just like it's somehow J.D. Vance's opinion, as he said right there that it's obvious that Comey lied under oath. It's obvious that Letitia James obviously committed mortgage fraud. How is that obvious when right after that you said, and we're going to have to adjudicate that and figure that out? How is it obvious if it hasn't been adjudicated yet? This is the normalization of saying things that they say are fact suddenly becoming our reality. And it has nothing to do with it. There's still this other thing. I'm sorry, man. I feel like I come down hard on Kristen Welker all the time because I feel like she's trying to be kind to people who are literally lying to her face and may call her names and say that she's being dishonest. But there's this appearance of pressure. Does that seem bad, JD? It's not the appearance of pressure. It is obvious, blatant, written down pressure. It's do this. We're running out of time is what Donald Trump let her know. We're running out of time on this. The statute of limitations are rolling. They're guilty as hell. What is it about those statements are the appearance of pressure and not direct pressure, which right afterwards, when other folks didn't want to do that stuff, he fired the folks that didn't want to do it because they said it was baseless prosecutions and brought in a lackey that doesn't know anything. It's not that hard. Kristen Welker has 100 producers. I don't have any. I'm trying to figure out why we can't just present those very basic facts to people.